Hello, people. How you doing? I'm Lee Cole. I'm here with my friend and my partner, James Proctor. James, how are you doing today?
Hey, doing really well, Lee. How are you doing today?
Not bad at all. We're gonna have, so James, we've been studying the Philly mob. We weren't expecting to get into the Philly mob, but we have. Overall, would you say after Bruno was killed, that family, that whole everything in Philadelphia was a total mess with everybody wanting to be the boss and everybody killing each other? Could you describe it any other way?
I don't think you can because three wars since 1980. So 1980 is when Bruno was taken out, and then you the only stability was led by a psychopath for about 4 or 5 years. You had Nicky Scarfo, but
But how stable was it though? Because he was killing everybody.
he was killing everybody, and then by the mid '90s, 15 years later, they'd went through three wars. Pretty much the whole family was decimated. They didn't even have enough people of Italian heritage to be able to, be soldiers in these wars, and they were recruiting anybody that could be muscle on the street. And so it's just. I mean, these were brutal wars, and so
And
there
they
was
were,
no joke.
and we're going to talk about one of the guys that they recruited, and he was an absolute psychopath. He was a
Hmm.
killer. He was very tough, and pretty much he may have been for 2 years. He may have been the meanest hitman on the street. That's what it comes down to. And
Yes.
this story is about greed. John
Hmm.
Stanfa's greed was his downfall. John Stanfa, the more I read about him, he sounds like an absolute idiot
Yes.
because he did really stupid things to bring himself down. He basically didn't act like a mob boss. But to be fair to John Stanfa, he took his medicine like a man and he went to prison and he died. I believe he died in prison, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, yep, he's
And the
a
people.
mhm.
Okay, so let's start. We're going to get into John Veasey now, and the reason we talk about John Veasey is because he is the one that shot down Michael Cingolini, or Mikey
Mhm.
Chang, they called him, while he was coming out of a place with Joey Merlino. Now, Joey Merlino got shot below the waist,
Yeah,
in his behind, I believe, and maybe his arm,
yeah,
and one shot to Mikey Chang's heart. He was dead before he hit the ground.
yeah, he was.
But this whole and this whole John Veasey thing is interesting because explain how much he was paid to do it and why he did it, and we'll get into what happens to him after that.
Yeah, so John Veasey was brought in. He was a hitman. He was brought in as muscle for John Stanfa, and so he was close with Stanfa and also the underboss at the time, Frank Martinez, and so they said, hey, we got to take out Joey Merlino. And so Stampa, it's funny when Martinez actually went to uh, John Veasey and asked him, to do this hit. Understand that Veasey's not a made guy. He's a associate. So they said, hey, we want you to do this. And Martinez was thinking, well, um, he's going to have to think about it or whatever. And the guy said, John said, hey, yeah, of course, I'll go ahead and do it. And so that's what
And they
ended
offer
up
him
happening.
10K, right? 10K
They
for it.
offer him 10,000 for it, and so he went to do the hit. And it's funny, he was staking out the place where,
And
where.
I'm sorry, just so people know, in the middle there is Martinez, and he was
Hmm.
Italian. People think that,
Hmm.
just so you know, he was Italian. But let me tell you something. If you've seen these three guys walking up the street, would you say suspicious?
Yeah,
I mean, look at them.
yeah.
John
Oh my god.
Stanfa and
Uh huh.
Martinez and some guy in the back. I don't know who he is, but he looks like he breaks someone in half.
Yeah,
Uh, but that they actually can't hide what they're up to. They look like they're up to no good. And
yeah.
that's I decided to show that picture. Okay, I'm sorry to cut you off there. So get back to
No, no.
Martinez.
Yeah. So anyway, they did the hit, and so, or they was given the contract to do the hit, and so when he drove up on where Joey was, he saw Joey out there with a few other people. So saw Joey. He was talking with Mikey Chang, and then but then he noticed his brother was also there, and so decided to
And just so
drive.
you know, you're talking about John Veasey's brother, Billy.
John Veasey's brother, Billy. And so Billy was friends. Billy grew up with Joey Merlino. And so they were friends. And Billy was, about 5 or 6 years older than John. But anyway, John was not going to do the hit with his brother outside. And so he drove by, and then a few minutes, he kind of waited to see what happened. And then, his brother and the other people, dispersed. And then it was just Joey Merlino and Michael out there. And so he went and did the hit, and, one bullet to the chest killed Michael Chang. And then, a few bullets hit Joey, I believe 4, and he was, it didn't, it was, all of them were superficial wounds.
And then that's when the war really picked up, because then Joey was pissed, decided to go on a rampage and look for the people that killed his friend and shot him.
Yes.
And the thing about the Cingolini brothers, I mean, there were 3 of them, right? And
yes.
But now you had brothers on each side fighting. And what's funny about this whole thing, when you think about it, John Veasey was actually on the side of Stanfa, and his brother was on the side of 2 more brothers.
Yeah, so, exactly.
And you got this city that's so small that these brothers are going up against each other. Now, he never won against his brother Veasey.
No.
But it's an unfortunate thing. So explain from that point. Okay, so Veasey, was he Italian or?
So his mom. So yeah, he was born in 1967. His mom was Sophia Maria Cuticcia. So she was Sicilian, and then the father was French, and so he was born.
He could never be made.
Never could be made. He was youngest of 5 kids. He was born and raised in South Philly. But his dad was found dead when John was 3 years old, and so his father was dead. And then his mom was a bartender, and she would, she just couldn't get good relationships. She just was going from man to man. They were just scumbags, and so, and in fact, John, when he became like 13 or 14 years old, there was an incident where there was a guy that was scumbag beating up on his mom, and he defended her. He beat up the guy as a young teenager, but unfortunately, when John was 16 years old, his mother died, and so it was really left up to the older brother Billy to be a father figure. But John was kind of athletic when he was a teenager. He was into weightlifting. They said he could power lift, like 370 pounds, but
that was when he was a young when he was a young guy, he was that powerful.
Yeah, exactly. But then, after his mom died, it really, he was already not in a structured environment. And so he had already lost his dad, didn't have a father figure. He did have his brother, and then his mom died. So at 16, he got addicted to drugs. He was had a coke habit of $600 a day. They said that he started smoking marijuana when he was 11, and he was taking meth at 14.
But they said his habit was $600 a day.
$600 a day on coke. And so, and the thing was, a kid's not going to be able to come up with $600 normally. So the guy was robbing drug dealers. And so Billy was, his older brother Billy was just, was just pissed off at John for destroying his life like that. And he would beat the hell out of John whenever he would, get high. And so Billy wasn't anyone to mess with either. Both brothers were tough.
Being arrested 60 times before.
Yeah, they said 60 times, and that's almost unbelievable. And I don't know, but yeah, by the time before he was 30, so 97, he would have been 30. So that was when he went to prison the last time after the Stanfa trial. They said he was arrested 60 times, and in fact, when the guy was 24, and this would be in 1990, Veasey actually was arrested for beating his wife. So his wife had been married before, and so John actually beat her ex-husband to death, and so he ended up pleading pleading out, getting a deal where basically they said that the ex-husband died from a drug overdose, and yeah, and he went to prison for 2 years, and so but yeah, I mean he wasn't someone to mess with, and so he ended up getting paroled in 1993. And the thing is, with this guy, he was only involved in this life really for about 2 years when he got out of prison.
But he already had a reputation on the street. That got back to Stanfa. He was a very bad dude.
Yes,
and a lot of guys feared him.
Yes,
and then he decided to become a hitman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they needed
job.
Yeah, so they needed guys like him, and so yeah, he was a hitman. He also collected debts for Stanfa, and so yeah, they said, hey, we want you, and and so Stanfa was having problems with Joey Merlino, and so the underboss Martinez went to John Veasey and said, hey, we'll give you $10,000 to take out Merlino, and he took the contract.
And he almost got both of them.
Yeah.
And see, this is where the problem started, because John Stanfa, being the stubborn, mean mule of a Sicilian he was, kept avoiding paying VC the money for the contract, $10,000 lousy dollars. And so then when he asked for the money, so let me understand this. When they and finish the story once I get to this part. When he asked for the money, Stanfa decided to kill him instead.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened. And so, and then for the hit itself, John Veasey actually recruited another guy, Phil Coletti. And so Coletti was in the car with John when they pulled off the hit on on Joey and Michael Chang. And so, yeah, I mean, Stanfa, he did the hit, and Stanfa was happy about it. And so even though they didn't take out Joey, they knew how powerful and important Michael was to this. And so, and then after that, because of the success, he got another contract. VC was given the contract to take out this guy, Frank Baldino, who he was a bartender in South Philly. And the thing was, Stanfa was upset with Frank because they said he was being too friendly with the other side, and so he wanted him dead. And so, but VC liked Baldino.
VC liked him. He actually liked Baldino. Yep.
Right. And they shot him in the head 6 times. He shot him in the head 6 times because he wanted him to die, immediate. He didn't want him to suffer. And so, yeah, that's what happened. And then, there's the incident with Joe Fudge as well, Joseph D. Simone. Do we want to go through that as well?
Yes.
So, yeah. So the thing is that, so he did the hit. So he's taken out 2.
Billy Veasey came to his brother John and warned him that this guy Joe Fudge was a made guy and the cousin of the underboss Frank Marinas, was talking openly about killing John.
Yes, exactly. So that's how he found out. That's how he found out. John found out about this, and so this guy Joe Fudge was Joseph D. Simone. And anyway, Joe Fudge didn't realize that John knew this. So there was a setup. So John set up Joe Fudge to come to his house, and it was kind of an interesting story because John was under a house arrest for some sort of other charge. And John Veasey, yeah. And so anyway, he had to be at his house to pick up a call from his parole officer. And so while he's there at the house waiting on the parole officer to call, VC used a paddle tip power drill to start ripping out chunks of Joe Fudge's hair, and then started using a baseball bat to strike at his knees. And he tied up Joe Fudge when he was on the phone with the parole officer. And so Joe Fudge was eventually let go, but man, he was badly hurt. Had his arms, his legs were all broken, and had chunks of his hair removed. So I mean, this guy wasn't someone to mess with, but he was a made guy as well. That was probably the reason he wasn't taken out totally.
Okay. And so VC's doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Okay, and then after that, he has a problem. He's like 10K. He was promised to fill the contract for Joey
Yeah.
and Michael Chang. VC was making $300 a week with his regular paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
and he wasn't even making that doing stuff for Stanfa.
Right.
And
exactly.
So VC confronted Stanfa. And,
right.
Stanfa
exactly.
Stanfa doesn't like the orders to hit and puts the hit on him. So John Veasey talks to his brother Willie. I'm sorry, Billy. And Billy tells him that he should become a rat because there was a contract on Veasey. And this is where this bad problem started. So Veasey takes his brother's advice and becomes a rat in 1994. What happened to you, James? Okay, so he becomes a brother in 1 second. Okay, so then John Veasey decides to become a rat because his brother told him. That's kind of weird in itself. Why don't you just leave town?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so, and he went to the Fed. So Billy had been talking to his brother John, saying, hey, you either have to leave town or you need to go to the Feds, Billy, and he's looking after his brother. I guess that's what it is. I'm not sure. We do know that Billy, in fact, later becomes an informant as well because he was going to testify. But anyway, so
one sec. So the Martinez is so Martinez decides, and this is something out of a movie. Martinez decides that he's going to set him VC up and kill him.
Yes.
Why don't you explain what happened? It didn't exactly work out, even though Frank Martinez had the upper hand and was a tough guy, and even shot him 3 times. So explain what happened.
Yeah. So what happened there was that, so by this time, this was in January of 94. And so VC had just decided to cooperate with the Feds. And so he was going to have to wear a wire. But on this day in January, when John Veasey went to an apartment in South Philly to meet with Frank Martinez, he wasn't wearing a wire. So anyway, VC approached the apartment and he noticed that everything inside, because I think he could look through the window, he saw everything covered in plastic. So he figured that wasn't a good sign. He figured there was something going on. And anyway, and then
it sounds like to me that guy was watching a little bit too much of Dexter, if you ask me.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would you let the guy see the plastic, first of all?
Yeah, I don't understand it. So you had Frank there, and Frank was in the apartment with another guy named Vincent Pagano, and he was known as Al Pajamas for whatever reason. But anyway, he goes into the apartment, and Martinez and Pagano, they attack VC, and VC gets shot 3 times in the head and 1 time in the chest by Martinez. So Martinez was the one that was with the gun. And anyway, after that, when VC wouldn't go down, Martinez came to him with a knife, and they got in a wrestling match, and John wrestled the knife from Martinez and stabbed the underboss and ran from the building. So that's what happened.
And he ran right to the Feds at that point.
Yeah. He entered the witness protection program.
He didn't stop running until he got to the Feds.
No, not at all. And so what happened after that's interesting. So, Stanfa gets arrested. He was part of a big pickup of a couple of dozen guys. And so by this time, you had all the blood on the street for the past 3 years, and then Stanfa's gone to trial. And so John is one of the guys that's going to testify, and also Billy, the older brother Billy, was also one of the witnesses to testify. But on the day of Stanfa's trial, Billy was killed. And
Isn't it amazing that these guys are going to rat and are out there in the open and running around Philadelphia? I mean,
I
what the
know
hell are
that,
they thinking?
yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then, but the thing is that, uh, and so now the question is, so Stanfa does get convicted. He goes to prison for life, and then
And so was
John
Martinez, right?
Martinez, yeah, John Veasey gets 10 years for his part in committing the crimes. But
But Stanfa and Martinez actually took their sentences. They did not become rats themselves.
right, exactly. And so this guy, so John Veasey blamed another Ciangalini brother, Johnny Chang. Yep. On the murder of his brother. And so they actually, the Johnny Chang actually was tried for the murder of Billy in
Yeah, I know.
2001, but was found not guilty. And so that's and so VC, you remember at that time, was in prison. And so when VC gets out of prison, Johnny Chang was found innocent of the murder of, or not guilty of the murder of his brother. And so, VC gets out of prison, I think around 2010, and gets married, and he's off in the Midwest somewhere as a car salesman, living under an alias. But
Oh, he lives down the street here. I mean,
oh,
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
he's right down across the highway. He's got the car dealership.
Yeah, but what's amazing to me is that, so he claims religion like a lot of them. So he claimed he became a Christian. He started talking to George Anastasia, the reporter there in
They always
Philly.
talk to George Anastasia, and George probably tells them, "Well, find God and say you're
Hmm.
in it for the children. Say you're in it for the children."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then John Veasey. So what Veasey does? So he's done all this change, but he starts making threats against Johnny Chang's family, including John's wife, Kathy. He would be calling Kathy up, and he'll be intimidating Johnny Chang's wife. He was calling Johnny a punk and all that stuff. And that was going on for, several years. And for whatever reason, he got away with it. But, the guy's definitely looking for blood. He's looking for vengeance against the murder of his brother, William or Billy.
Okay, so we not have heard much from him since then, have we?
No, not really. I mean, it's
He's
funny.
done
I
some
was,
shows. He's done some
mhm.
shows, but he kind of fell from the limelight. And the thing is you had all this stuff going on, and then Joey Merlino comes out of prison and just it's like a vacuum. Everybody's dead or they're killing people, and
Mhm.
he takes over.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
then the feds have one target, Joey Merlino. They go after Joey Merlino, and since that time, since Joey Merlino's conviction, it's been kind of peaceful because now we know the mob really doesn't do that killing anymore. But in
Mm-mm.
Philadelphia, you never know. I mean, those guys up there in Philly, that I mean, they're like the Columbos on steroids, the Columbo family on steroids.
Oh my gosh. And what's amazing? It's still amazing to me to see how Michael Chang gets shot once, like a lucky shot just kills him. And then you get both Joey Chang gets shot multiple times, gets shot in the head, survives. He wasn't the same, but and then you got John Veasey gets shot in the chest and shot in the head 3 times and
And
survives.
then you got
It's
Joey Merlino got shot.
4 times.
Scarfo's
Yeah.
son got shot.
Mm-hmm.
Scarfo's son got shot. The guy in the
Stanfa's son too, I believe, got
Stanfa's
shot.
son. Yeah, it's so it's like what kind of bullets are they using there? Are these like no kill bullets? Because these shots they're getting hit with are kill shots. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
we're talking about Cingolini got shot 3 times in the head and lived. This
Hmm.
guy got shot in the head and fought back and won the fight and took off.
Yeah.
Uh, and then you have Scarfo's son gets shot in a restaurant a bunch of times. He lives.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, like 10 times or whatever or more, and it was all in non-vital area. It's just
they
it's
need to
weird.
increase. They need to use a different kind of bullet. Yes, man.
Yeah, I
Because
know. What are they
sounds like
using?
yeah. It's just weird how many guys are living. Either,
Mm,
but you know what? It's an interesting story, James, and I appreciate that story. But you know what I'm going to say before anything else,
yeah.
I'm going to go and do some advertising. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, let's do it.
Please subscribe, hit the like button, and reminder bell, and if you want to donate, there it is, right there. Feel free. Uh, and Also, we have with Angel Gotti, we have a Patreon page, and we put up one or two things a week, and stuff that's not out here, and it's growing. We're a few more uh, subscribers, and then we get to have Angel show her face and do the shows with her face
In the nude, or I mean, with her
in the
face.
nude. I mean,
No,
oh my god!
no. I mean, if the
now,
uncovered.
now I got to cut that out. Now you know I got to cut that out. In the nude.
I meant uncovered, not in the nude.
I'm just gonna leave it in there so she goes, what the hell did he say? Okay. And also we have a wrestling channel, as everybody
Yes.
knows, and we'll do a live on that this week. And please go over there and sub to that. We appreciate it. And that's pretty much it for now.
Yep.
Okay, so James, thank you. And
Hey, thank you.
thank you for that story. Every time we do something in Philadelphia, it gets very interesting. Definitely not a boring place, is it?
No, it's not. It's amazing after, our very first show was about Philly and was a disaster. And it's amazing how much we've learned.
Philly.
Yeah.
I was talking about that to somebody the other day.
Yeah.
How much we didn't know about Philly. And now it seems like we learn so much about Philly, and you learn more and more these names. And like we're talking about people, we talk about the five families in general. But if there was a sixth family, this would be it. That's just my opinion, because their violence level was right there with the guys in New York.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, people, thank you very much. And everybody have a nice one. Take care.
Yep.